वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं उदीरयेत् श्रृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयान्तस्थो हि अभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सतं नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी हरे कृष्णा प्रभु you can start प्रभु
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shrimad Bhagavatam. So today we'll be doing overview. And so just a second. Yes. So I will try to read one or two verses so that just to make sure that we did something. Yeah. The descriptions and characteristics of King Puranjana. I'll just read the translation. The great sage Maitri continued, speaking to Vidura. My dear Vidura, in this way Lord Shiva instructed the sons of King Bharishat. The sons of the king also worship Lord Shiva with great devotion and respect. Finally, Lord Shiva became invisible to the princes. All the Pracheta princes simply stood in the water for 10,000 years and recited the prayers given to them by Lord Shiva. While the princes were undergoing severe austerities in the water, their father was performing different types of fruitive activities. At this time, the great saint Narada, master and teacher of all spiritual life, became very compassionate upon the king and decided to instruct him about spiritual life. Narad Muni asked King Prachini Bharishad, my dear king, what do you desire to achieve by performing these fruitive activities? The chief aim of life is to get rid of all miseries and enjoy happiness, but these two things cannot be realized by fruitive activity. The king replied, O great soul Narada, my intelligence is entangled in fruitive activities, therefore I do not know the ultimate goal of life. Kindly instruct me in pure knowledge so that I can get out of the entanglement of fruitive activities. So, we will stop here. Om Ajnanatimirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयति गिरिं यत्कृपातहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुषि कृपा सिन्धुः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः. So, in the chapter summary, the descriptions of characteristics of King Puranjana, we can see that Narada Muni is going to start a story of Puranjana. And why does this story come about? The question is given over here by Narada Muni, and the king has replied. The king says that, O great soul, Narada, my intelligence is entangled in fruitive activities. Therefore, I do not know the ultimate goal of life. Kindly instruct me. Yes. So, so the very nice thing over here is that sometimes we think that Srimad Bhagavatam is allegorical. What does allegorical mean? That these stories are meant for um, giving us some moral. Like, in childhood, we have these some stories which are just meant for giving us more moral lessons. Like, you make up some stories, and this bird said this to this bird, and then how the thing goes on, that we should be kind. Yes, the moral of the story is this. But does it really happen? we don't know, or it is not true at all. It is made on the spot. Yes. But over here, Narad Muni is actually mentioning the allegorical story. Yes. King Puranjana's story is allegorical. Yes. And he is trying to use the story to actually make sense to the king, yes, Prachini Barishad, so that he can come out of the material entanglement. Yes, this is a very important aspect. Why? This is a great sign of what a preacher is. Yes, what is the meaning of contemporary teaching, not modern preaching. Okay. So I had heard this difference, and that's why it was a very nice aspect that there is no time in history, whether it is 2000 years back, 200 years back, 20 years back, or 2 minutes back. Yes. There is no time in history that Vedanta cannot be discussed. Yes. Vedanta is eternal. Krishna is eternal. Yes. Everything about the Lord is eternal. Yes. So the Shastras are also eternal. Yes. If the Shastras are eternal, they are accessible in at every single moment in history and in the future. The issue comes is that when we are trying to use it, how are we understanding it? You know, and that's why all these acharyas come. They don't do modern preaching. Yes, sometimes we say that Prabhupada changed things. Yes, Prabhupada did this, and that's why there is a change he did. But to say that he did a change is kind of saying it's like a big offense. Why? Yes, apparently to the dull-headed, it might see that he changed things. But a great acharya who is a great follower of his guru, yes, how can he change things of the parampara? You know, there is an application of the rule, time, place, and circumstance. And that's how he's trying to do and trying to preach. And that's why saying that Prabhupada changed something is actually a great offensive thing to Prabhupada's lotus feet. Yes, yes. And that's why he knows how to preach. He knows Vedanta full in, full out. Yeah. He knows the purports of each and every verse of Vedanta Sutra. And that's why Srila Prabhupada can actually, whatever he does is perfect. Why? Because the crux, the whole thing of what the Shastras are mentioning is using them. And that's why we have to be very careful because once we start saying Prabhupada changed things, that means tomorrow, if after 10, 100 years after, people are going to say that, yeah, Prabhupada changed these things. So I am also eligible to change anything now. Why? Because Prabhupada was 100 years back. Now I can use my tiny brain to do whatever I want because my Acharya told me how to do these things, to change things. Yes. But Prabhupada never changed anything. So we have to be careful when we say this aspect that Prabhupada changed something or not. That's why if we don't understand why he did it, that is our problem. That's not his problem. And that's why over here, Narada Muni knows how to take out the king from material life. Yes. And that's why he's using an allegorical story. Srimad Bhagavatam is history, Prabhupada mentions. It is not allegorical. And how does the story go? He tells, like these descriptions are given by Narada Muni, that there is a great king. There was a great kingdom, and there was this gate and that gate, and there was this entry and that entry. And then how the king was involved in the senses. But there was this intelligence, and then he gives the names of all these characters. Why? Just to make understand, yes, that we are that king. We need to get out of this material world. We are the soul caught in the four walls of the kingdom with the gates of entry, and then we have the senses, and then elements of material nature. Sometimes when we don't have the hunger to digest food, yes, to digest food, then we cannot actually relish what is being said. And that's why Maharaj was mentioning this once, that there has to be some fire to actually get the taste of that food also which we are eating. Yes, in our case, we are honoring Prasad. So we need to have some hunger. So even in that case, we need to have hunger for hearing Krishna Katha. Otherwise, it does not go inside the brain. We might think that, oh, we are hearing, we are listening, and it is so nice. It feels very nice. But we are not able to apply it in our lives. Then what's the use of that hearing? Yes. And that's why Prabhupada, he used Panchanga Nyaya, where we have these five elements of how he has written all the purports and translations, not translations, the purports. And there are five elements to it. The first is that what is your thesis, and then how do you prove your thesis? By whatever Shastra says. That's why Prabhupada always quotes Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the third thing is that what is your point, how it is proven. Then you have to show that, oh, what might the other person say? And then the fifth, you bring it back to what was your original point. And Prabhupada uses this again and again. Yes, this is the way essays and everything have to be written. But why is Prabhupada using this way? So that we know how to actually get a whole holistic understanding of what the purports are meant to say to us. Yes. And and that's why um, over here Narada Muni is using this technique to actually show the king that, hey, you are this king. And that's why I am trying to bring you to the platform of bhakti. Yena kena prakarena Krishna smaranam. Yes, somehow or the other, focus our mind on Krishna. Yes. And that's why if we are actually, trying to tell Bhagavatam, or, try to give what is the message of Bhagavatam, we have to bring it back so that we can use it actually in our lives. That doesn't mean that Gajendra, the story of Gajendra, the story of, Ajamil, Vitrasura are all allegorical. No, that's not what it means. They're all real. That is what at least we know Prabhupada mentioned, right? The Srimad Bhagavatam is history. So we have faith that no, these are not, you know, some things which are told for kids and now for me to understand how to work in this life. No, this is not Bhagavatam is not allegorical. And that's why when we have that faith, which comes from our acharyas, then only we can actually give it to the others. Sometimes we think that I will say this in such a way that I will have such influence that then people will actually understand. And then, it will be nice. And we try to do that sometimes and it does not work. Yes, before Prabhupada, there were so many people who came to the West, but none actually could preach or actually make even one devotee. Yes, they taught Bhagavad Gita, but it was useless. Yes, because why? They did not have the faith. They were not having the chit potency. And that's why we have to be careful that we do not hear from outside. Even though it may be right, yes, we at least in our heart we should know that this is not going to help me. Why is it not going to help me? Because the chit potency is not present. It is not coming in the parampara. That's why it might sound very beautiful. But Krishna is not dancing on the tongue of this speaker. Why? Because he's not in parampara. Yes. He's a very nice speaker, very nice orator. Now it is just transformed into bhakti a little bit here and there. Is that really bhakti? It appears to be, but it might not be. Yes, the Mayavadis read all of this, and the conclusion is that you are God, I am the controller and enjoyer, you are also the controller and enjoyer. Namo Narayana. On the other hand, we do not say that. Why? Because we are getting the understanding. The what do you mean by mercy? Is that we know by mercy of the acharyas, we are able to understand. Yes, understand what it means to actually what is the purport actually saying. And that's why last time when we were mentioning that no degree or no amount of English grammar, that I know the Oxford dictionary, so now I know the best. Now I know what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says in his Brahma Samhita. No, it's not because of all that. We might use it for the words, but we might not be able to understand it. Why? Because there is no mercy yet. Yes, when we keep on reading, because of the faith which we have in our acharyas, we actually get that understanding. Yes, so Vedanta is always accessible. It's not that, oh, I cannot tell, I cannot introduce. No, the thing is that we are not intelligent enough to introduce Krishna in such a way that the other person can access. And then from his position, how he can make, progress upwards. Yes. But to actually go upwards, that person cannot just be brought to mode of goodness. He has, if he doesn't do Krishna conscious, you know, um, if he's not actually performing Krishna conscious activities, or he's not Krishna conscious, he's not actually going to progress in spiritual life. Externally, he might go for some time, but after that, no, it won't be possible. So we are careful in saying and applying Vedanta. Yes, and that's why Maharaj was mentioning that Vedanta can be mentioned anytime, any place to anyone. Even a kid can understand Vedanta. If you see, actually, in our Shastras, the kids earlier, like the Gurukuls and everywhere, they didn't have children's books as separate. Today we have them so that it's easier for our children to understand. Like coloring books are there, and then we bring out stories from the Bhagavatam in such a form that, with pictures and everything. But our histories, Ramayana, Mahabharata, they were enough, even for the kids. Why? Because the teachers, like the parents, the teachers, they knew how to deal. They can discuss very high philosophy in a very simplistic way to a child, and the child will be happy to understand it. Yes, they did not need a separate children's book. But today we need to do that. Why? Because we do not know how to express, we do not know how to deal with children, and that's why they need to have support. Yes, because we are not trained. But a trained person in Vedanta can speak to anyone. Yes, anyone on the street. Whether it's a businessman on the street, yes, whether it's a pauper on the street, or whether it's a new devotee, whether it's an old devotee, a senior devotee, a mature devotee, a pure Bhagavata, no problem. Yes, no problem. Why? Because we always say, right, Krishna is within everyone. So then, if Krishna is within everyone, then there has to be a lacking in me that I'm not able to access, I'm not able to express. Yes, and that's why Srila Prabhupada, if you see, he perfectly knows how to deal with everyone. The kids, like Prabhupada used to say, the Mayavadis will come to him, they'll give him, impersonalism and, all these things, big, big things. And Prabhupada will ask them, who is God? What is the absolute truth? And then they will be like, the absolute truth is nirguna, we cannot mention in words, it's, undifferentiated, blah, blah, blah. And Prabhupada is like, no, but who is the absolute truth? There is no actually who, There's no who, there's no you and I. They'll do, but Prabhupada will be like, who know who? You mentioned what is that? What is the absolute truth? and they are not able to answer. And then he'll point to Saraswati or one of the kids and he'll say, okay, tell me who is the absolute truth. And the kid will be like, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the absolute truth. And they're like, see, even a kid knows. But the Mayavadis, they do not know. We find it very simple. But the thing is that even a kid can, that's why Prabhupada, even a dog can take part into Krishna consciousness. Why? The problem isn't in the world. The problem is in us that we are not able to express. And that's why the way we preach, the way we hear, the way we express, our devotion, it all comes down to where is our maturity. Yes, a person might not be able to speak nicely, but if he is mature in devotion, his devotion, whatever he'll speak, it will be shown even to a person who is very nicely situated in grammar or whatever. If he is a nice, great devotee, it will be recognized. Why? Because he's able to touch somebody's heart is because he is in touch with Krishna. Yes, he is in touch with Krishna. And that's why when we say that, no, we have to introduce elements very carefully and all, yes. But in the back of the mind, we should know that Krishna is the center of all activities. And I need to focus on him. And that's why Narada Muni, if you see, out of all of this, the whole story he tells, you know, of Puranjana. And at the end, the king is actually like, oh, I am that king Puranjana. I know what to do now. Yes, I will take to bhakti. I'll practice, bhakti very nicely and go back home back to Godhead. That's how preaching is done. That's how Prabhupada did it, you know. Yes, that's how Prabhupada, and that's why when we say that, oh, Prabhupada changed, no, Prabhupada did not change anything. Prabhupada actually gave this example of, the car and the driver. And Jiva Goswami gives the example of the axe and the axeman, the woodcutter, you know. But, oh, then he changed so much. No, he did not change, you know. That's the way somebody can be able to access Krishna. That's how he's doing it. Whatever we can come to Krishna consciousness and actually chant and go back home, back to Godhead. But if we try to do it, that as in like, if I try to do it, let's say, if I am going to do such things, it will be a big failure. Why? Because I don't know actually what is Vedanta. Yes, and that's why we study Srila Prabhupada's books very nicely. Shamamuni Mataji was mentioning that day. When was the last time we heard Prabhupada's lecture? Yes, when was the last time we read Prabhupada's books? Yes, and it's so important. Jayapataka Maharaj was mentioning for his Vyas Puja last year at least, not this year, last year, that he is doing these courses of, Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Siddhanta, Bhakti Vedanta. Why? Is to show us that, you should also do it. You should scrutinizingly read Srila Prabhupada's books, that we might be able to even understand by his mercy what is Prabhupada actually trying to say. Yes. So sorry for the delay today. Thank